Thank gosh they did it. Thank gosh they did it. It's been way too long. I'm sorry I haven't been here for the past few days, but I'm so happy I come back. And I come back on a high point. I come back after, I don't know if I want to call it an impressive win, but a win that you needed. And if you were to lose, like, look, I experienced the Panthers losing today because I got on a flight. I missed the second half. I had to watch the replay of it. And I'm sitting in the airport and people are flying to Charlotte and they're scared. The Panthers are down 17 points. Like, people don't know what's going to happen when they land in Charlotte. The Panthers are down 17 points. It was like, oh my gosh, like, we couldn't take this against the Dolphins. It's that crap show. A team that's been falling apart completely. And now their best player, hey, Tyreek Hill's probably still their best player. Achan's a beast too, but he's a running back. Hill has the nasty injury, the terrible, gruesome injury. And they're still going to come in here and freaking beat you? And I experienced a loss because I hopped on a plane and they're down 17 points. And then I opened my phone. The first thing I do is when we touch ground, people are like, text me when you land. I'm like, no, I need to check the Panthers score first. And I checked the score and they won the game. And the guy next to me thought I was crazy. I'm like, yo, like, look at this. The Carolina Panthers just won. And he looks at his wife and he taps her on the shoulder like, hey, I think, should we get the flight attendant over here? Because this guy needs some help. He thinks the Panthers actually won the game. He thinks the Panthers actually won against the Dolphins. They did. And they actually won. They actually won the game. And Dave Canales, I think, had a great game. I still think the Falcons win between Evero and Canales, that was probably the best coach game you've had all year. But the story, and no one is talking about the story. No one is talking about it, but it stuck out so clearly to me. It stuck out so clearly. The tackling. The Dolphins did not tackle today. They could not tackle anyone. They could not tackle. And they, in fact, look like the Panthers did. How the Panthers tackled earlier in the season. That is growth. And there's a lot of room for growth. And we're going to talk about all the opportunities for the team to grow and get better. But Dave Canales versus Mike McDaniel, well, Dave Canales' team was tackling. And I think it's pretty clear that there was some stuff happening behind closed doors. There was conversations taking place behind closed doors in Carolina. I think it started with the tackling. DJ Johnson cut. Finally, he should have got cut in 2024. He shouldn't have been on the team week 1 of 2024. He finally got cut. Dalvian Campbell, the gunner, I attribute the problem to Caleb Evans, the other gunner who couldn't tackle Marcus Jones, but Campbell was on the field as well. Did not tackle Marcus Jones when the Panthers lost terribly to the Patriots. So what do? They come in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday goes by, the media like vultures jumping. We're jumping on the Panthers. They don't really care about that, but to their credit, they still had a conversation. They go, you know what? And I don't know if it was Canales. I don't know if Daddy Tep came downstairs. I don't know if he finished his morning workout. He was on the elliptical watching the film. Nicole was delivering him like a banana smoothie, and he's just like, ugh. Ah, they can't tackle. And I don't know if he sat someone down, because it's clear. They said, you know what? These guys are the issue. DJ Johnson and Campbell and these guys who are not tackling. You're out of here. You're done. And we're going to see how this game against the Dolphins goes. And if we have to cut more guys, we're going to do it. DJ Johnson played 49% of snaps against the Pats. And they cut him. They cut him the game after that. I find that unbelievable. But it goes to show you what the mentality was this week leading up to the game against the Dolphins. It was, this thing is going down. This is a sinking ship. And if you're not going to help the team win, you're out. We don't care who you are. They might even think that about the quarterback. Who knows? And I'm glad Canales laid it on the table. He laid it on the table. And here's a telling quote. Nick Scott earlier in the week, talking about the recent cuts of DJ Johnson Campbell. It hits me personally. I just need to be on my stuff. Anyone can get it. Talking about getting cut. I think, again, that's a little window into the world. There was a conversation. I don't know how much we know about it, but maybe it was Canales, maybe it was Tepper. I don't know who it was. Morgan, I don't know who's involved. But they clearly, going into this game, said, you know what? You better show up and tackle, because you can do that. You're a professional football player. You should not be tackling like you're in Pop Warner. And today, Canales had the guys ready. Still not a perfect operation. There's still a lot of room for growth on defense. You gave up a lot of plays to the Dolphins in the passing game, and I don't even think Tua played that well. His numbers were pretty good. He hit Waddle for the big touchdown. Waller was killing you in the first half. A lot of blown coverages. But at least you tackled. And that was there. And that I attribute to the coaching. Let's talk about the quarterback. Here is Dave Canales on Bryce Young.
Felt the maturity of this group. You're going to face adversity. You're going to face hard times. We can make it harder on ourselves by, the decisions or Bryce's pass was too high for Xavier is open in the middle of the field. He'd be up here. He'd tell you that right now. He'd love to have that one back. But it's the response. This game is about how you respond to adversity. And I saw us take a step in terms of just collectively staying together, not looking around and saying, okay, well, however we ended up here, defense, we got to go back out and play again.
This was a different Dave Canales in the press conference. He actually had a quote before where he was taking the blame for the delay of games, saying how he was late with the play call. So he was very positive about the Panthers quarterback in general, despite the two pretty bad turnovers by Bryce Young, the overthrow on the pass to Legette. The footwork was just, it wasn't there. You just looked like he rushed the throw, didn't set his feet. He had a tiny bit of time to get that off. That was a bad throw. And then the play with Bradley Chubb was just disastrous. And it was resemblant the first half of this game to week 1 and week 2, where the quarterback has 2 turnovers, he puts you in a hole, and they respond to adversity, in the words of the coach. And that's why they won this game. I honestly don't think that's completely the case. Like, maybe that's one way to look at it. You didn't respond after the quarterback turned it over twice, week 1 and week 2. But I think you lost because the Dolphins, they didn't tackle Dowdle. They could not tackle him if they tried. They didn't show up. They had 20 yards of offense. Miami had 20 yards of offense in the third quarter. 20 yards of offense. And if you take out that play by Jalen Waddle, I think I have the number here. I hope I do. Oh my gosh. It was ridiculous. They had like 40 yards of offense. 40 yards of offense. Okay, 93 yards of offense in the second half. 46 of those came on the touchdown throw to Waddle. So they had like, I can't do the math on the fly, like 50 yards of offense besides that throw in the second half. And credit to the defense. You got pressure. You made some plays. But I think a lot of this was just on the Dolphins being bad. And yes, this is good for the Panthers. I think it's a jump point. You needed that after the loss to New England. You absolutely needed that. But I don't think this is about Young responding to adversity. Like, I think he's largely been this way the whole season. He did this exact thing against the Cardinals. It's just the Cardinals are better than the Dolphins. And if you have 2 turnovers against the Cardinals, you're not going to win. 2 early turnovers that set you back, you're not going to win against that team. The Jags, who, I don't know how they've been recently, but they decent team. Decent defense. I think they have a pretty good O-line. Like, they're just better teams than the Dolphins. The Dolphins are bad, and despite turning the ball over and winning the turnover battle, they are not able to beat the Panthers. So I do think it's a little bit more about the Dolphins stinking than Bryce Young responding to adversity, personally. But hey, to each their own. And if this is a jumping point for the quarterback, if this is what Young needs, because I think at this point, Bryce Young is his 2023 self. The footwork's inconsistent. He's unable to throw the ball downfield. He can manage the game. Again, the stat line, 18 of 23, 150 yards, maybe a touchdown. Today he had 2, but you catch my drift. Maybe he has 2 touchdowns, but he has 2 turnovers as well. And it's inconsistent from the quarterback. But if this builds confidence for him, sure. Sure, and I think the coach has more confidence in the quarterback, and maybe that's all that matters. It's like reverse psychology. So who cares what we think? We don't care what we think. We just care what Canales and Young think. And if they have all the confidence in the world, they're like soldiers returning from war going to the bar. They're ready to talk to anybody. Then I have no problem with it. I have no problem with Bryce Young and Dave Canales walking around, flaunting it, showing it off like they're 10s in the club. I have no issue with it. And there was growth. Again, Canales, he put it on the table. And that's why I think he is behind a lot of this. I think Canales is behind a lot of this. With the tackling that got better this week, you were better than the Dolphins tackling. I think Canales sat some guys down and he goes, Nick Scott, you know what? You're not going to be here if you continue to arm tackle. And Trevin, I'll put Bam Martin Scott. I don't even know what happened to him. I'll put him on the field if you don't run like you've been shot out of a cannon and get after the ball carrier and hit guys. And Roseboom, Wallace, they stuck out to me. I think that has a lot to do with the coach, and Canales put it on the table in another way. He trusted his quarterback. I talked about it. I said, there are points in time where you look at Canales and you go, just let the quarterback throw the ball. Even if the result's going to be bad. Even if it's going to be an interception. Even if he's going to cost you the game. Just let him throw the ball. On 3rd and 10, you're going to run draws to Dowdle against the Patriots? You're just going to give the ball away to the other team because you don't trust the quarterback? Well, today, 4th and 4, 7 minutes left in the second half. Canales goes for it. Young scrambles, finds McMillan. And it was a good throw by Young. There are 4 or 5 defenders closing in on him. He had to take a hit. And to his credit, he stood in there and got the ball to McMillan. And you convert. And I think you come away with a field goal on that because of that. Of course, the one that sticks out to everyone, the final drive, 3rd and 5, Canales calls a pass. And it was a terrible throw by Bryce Young. I don't know if Renfro was in the wrong place, but Young completely airmailed Hunter Renfro on that. But you get bailed out. Maybe it was a makeup call. It looked like a little bit of a hold. On Jack Jones, who held Hunter Renfro, you move the sticks. The yellow comes out, the flag comes out. You move the sticks. And I don't know how much credit I want to give Canales for that, but at least it shows the underlying theme, which is Canales does not care. He will sink with the ship. Today, he was willing to sink with the ship. And I think he woke up in the middle of the night on a Wednesday or something. Wakes up at 2 in the morning, looks at Lizzie, he goes, you know what? I'm done being conservative with this. And if I go for it on 4th down, or the second half, or the first half, if I go and throw a pass on 3rd and 5 with the game on the line, and the quarterback throws a pick, and I get fired on Monday, whatever. Because I'm done being criticized for being the one who hasn't been able, who's been overthinking. He's been overanalyzing a lot of this. That's what I think it comes down to. But today, he went in with an intention of, I'm just going to do what it takes to win this game. I don't care if the quarterback screws me over. And it paid off for him. You end up getting that PEI on 3rd and 5, and you move the chains, and you end the game. How about this? The run game. Canales said he had a great game plan. Here is Dave Canales on the game plan on Sunday.
We had a great game plan. Rico would be up here and first off tell you, the offensive line did an excellent job of getting movement to get the run started, but it's the attitude that he ran with, the violence that he ran with, finishing through arm tackles, something that we've been challenging our guys on. When we get you to the second level, have a plan for how you finish, and I saw a great finish today out of Rico, and Trevor got in there and had a couple of nice touches as well, so I was really pleased with that.
Canales gets credit again. He's stuck with the run this game. 23 carries for Rico Dowdle. He stuck with the run. I went back and watched the beginning of the Patriots game because some people were critical of the Panthers not running the ball enough in that game, especially early on. And I think there is an element of that. I didn't necessarily believe it because I'm like, your special teams lost you that game so early. You made so many mistakes so early in that game besides the first drive where you had the touchdown, 7 plays, 76 yards, something crazy like that. Still, I think there's times where Canales tries to get a little too cute, and it's these swing passes, and we'll do the end around to Legette, or whatever it is, a screen or something, and the quarterback hits Damian Lewis in the head. Like, just freaking run the ball. And he said it there, the arm tackling. They know this Dolphins defense stinks. They knew it. And they went in and said, we're going to run it on them. Because they're not going to be able to tackle us. Rico Dowdle's a big guy. He runs hard. The Panthers have a good offensive line. I think Christensen and Moten, it looked like every single time they ran to that side, they are 7 yards down the field. It was unbelievable. I go, these are big 300-pound men, and they are out in front of this thing, pushing those guys. The Dolphins had nothing. They had nothing. It was like a bunch of Vikings trying to fight like the crew team. It was unbelievable. I go, it doesn't even look competitive. How easy it was for the Panthers to run the ball, and credit to Dave Canales. Because I think he wants to sit there and wear his tight Hollister jeans and read from the menu and call the plays, and it'll be the LaFleur, or it'd be the intellectual coach. He's not the rah-rah football guy. And it's nothing against him. There's a million coaches like this, where they just want to call the plays. I don't think they really care as much about the other elements of the operation. They just want a good scheme, a good system that no one can beat, and few coaches actually can do it the right way and actually can figure it out. Kyle Shanahan, Kevin O'Connell, they get it right. And I think Canales aspires to be that. But today, you won not because of some crazy creative scheme, because you took advantage of a specific weakness. Like, you knew this player was weak in this situation, so you ran this play because he always gets confused on this route. It wasn't super strategic. Like, honestly, I think he could have came up with his game plan in 5 minutes. But sometimes the best solution comes after 5 minutes. You just sit there, drink your coffee, you watch the tape, you're like, wow, these guys literally do not tackle at all. They do not tackle at all. And all we need to do is run the ball between the tackles, maybe right outside the tackle, whatever, and Dowdle is going to figure it out. He's going to run over these guys, and we're going to commit to the run. That's how we're going to win. And then, of course, he takes a little subtle shot. He goes, Dowdle did a great job finishing through arm tackles. Through arm tackles. He throws it in there. He's kind of fast about it, too. He's like, through arm tackles. He did a great job finishing through arm tackles. Yeah, Mike McDaniel's guys, they arm tackle. They don't practice tackling. They don't practice tackling. What's Mike McDaniel? He does like basketball drills or whatever. He actually does that with the receivers. So they're too busy being cute in Miami. We have the $150 million paid to the guards. I know Robert Hunt wasn't playing, but we're going to run it on these guys, and they're going to arm tackle, and we're going to win because of it. Coaching. I give credit to the coaching there. And again, the Panthers did a pretty good job, on another note, neutralizing the Dolphins running back. Achane, 16 touches for 46 yards, only a touchdown. A nice catch, though. And Achane, I think, underrated. Like, wow, that guy is good. And I know he did nothing today. I have a lot of respect for him. Smaller, I think the term's like a scat back, but he's not that. He's not a big back, but he's not a scat back. And that's my rap. Sorry. I rap battled for like 2 minutes on Saturday, so I need to pretend I can drop a bar there. You neutralized him, and he's a good player. He made the amazing touchdown catch. But he's a guy that I think if the Panthers were to have lost this game, it would have been them getting burned by Achane. And he is the type of player that can do that. He's like Tyreek Hill at running back. Super fast, slippery. He's not big, but he just slips off tackles. Wallace and Roseboom were bringing him down all day. All day. They were able to control him, and I know Mike Jackson got burnt over the top bad. Burnt bad by Jalen Waddle. And there were some issues with the linebackers getting confused in coverage. That was an issue. Again, I don't know if it's the linebackers or the safety, but it seems teams, when they target these intermediate routes, it's not underneath, it's not over the top. They're decent against those two. It's right in the middle of the field. It's sometimes by the sideline, but it's 10, 15 yards from the line of scrimmage, and you just drop it in there. Stephon Diggs did it last week. Darren Waller did it a couple times in the first half. He had a monster first half, making plays. And it just looks like Nick Scott, the linebackers, they get confused. And that's why this wasn't a great, perfect win. Because there's still some opportunity for growth with that. It's something they need to coach up. With how they sit in the zone, or they prevent the tight end from killing them. Because it seems like there's a lot of times where it's Scott and Wallace, they're sitting there, or Scott and Roseboom, or Ransom and one of the linebackers, and it is drop it in. And both guys can kind of make a play, but they don't. The linebackers they're two underneath. The safeties two over the top are in the wrong place. And it seems teams are like strategically taking advantage of that. But at least you did not get beat by Achane. At least he did not kill you today. 16 touches for 46 yards. You kept him in check. So we'll continue to keep an eye on some of the other stuff. But let's definitely talk about this. Let's definitely talk about this before we wrap up. Xavier Legette. Here's what Coach had to say on XL.
Unbelievable. I truly believe that Xavier, as he settles in and just does his part, when the ball came to him, he made the plays. And that's all we need from him. And he showed up today. He had a great look in his eyes. He was excited to get out there. I saw him through the week, just every day, just building confidence. I'm so glad Bryce gave him a shot right there, where they had double coverage on, T-Mac and somebody else on the inside. Xavier had the single. We need you to win big. And he did on his touchdown.
Now, I found this quote very interesting, because all week leading up to the game, we heard from Xavier Legette extensively. I think the story of the week was Xavier Legette, in Scott Fowler's words at the Charlotte Observer, Legette was irked by the questions he was asked about his confidence specifically. A quote from Xavier Legette: "Nobody can tell me they're going to uplift my confidence because my confidence ain't never left." That is the quote from the Panthers wide receiver. My confidence ain't never left. Well, why is Canales talking about how much confidence Xavier Legette has built over the week leading up to the game? A little bit of dissonance, and maybe that cold shoulder that Xavier Legette gave to Canales after the game, I believe against New England, maybe that is a little bit loaded there. And there's some disbelief in the Panthers wide receiver, and he's upset that people are questioning his confidence, and maybe even the coach is involved in that. It seems like Canales has Xavier Legette on a confidence, quote-unquote, training program. Well, you know what the best cure for that type of cognitive dissonance is, where the coach and the wide receiver aren't on the same page. When they're not on the same page, you need results. Results. Money silences all. Money silences all critics. And Legette brought the money today. Nice touchdown catch, one-on-one with Jack Jones, who, Jack Jones, I think, was probably the low light for the Dolphins in this game. The PI at the end against Renfro that effectively ended the game. I think he had a couple penalties, burnt in coverage, but Legette, mano-y-mano, one-on-one with Jack Jones and makes a play. Good throw, great catch, strong hands, controlled it to the ground. He won because he's a bigger guy than Jack Jones. And I think Bryce had a good throw on it. It was a weird throw. I think the route was like a fade, and Bryce Young threw it inside. You're like, what's going on? But it ended up working out, and maybe that is enough for Legette to build some confidence. Canales says he was crying when he saw Xavier Legette haul that touchdown in. So who knows what's going on between the coach and wide receiver, but hopefully that was enough to give Legette a little bit of something as we wait for Jalen Coker to return. Now, finally, the story of the day, the sacks. Here is Dave Canales in the locker room talking about the pass rush, which stepped up today.
A-Sean got a sack. DB got a sack. Pat Jones finished with a beautiful.
Tell me you've never had a sack before without telling me you've never had a sack before. They're acting like they've never seen one before. Well, hopefully, I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole. You get what I'm saying? They had 3 sacks today. They had 2 sacks all year. And they're seeing a lot of sacks. The Panthers are. And I think it is because the Dolphins' offensive line is horrible and terrible. I mean, that is a awful offensive line. But again, much like with Bryce Young, I forgot what context I was using this earlier in, where, yes, it was the coach and the quarterback. Much like if the coach and quarterback have confidence in each other now, because they stood up to adversity or whatever they want to call it. Having sacks against a bad offensive line, I take that as a win. I take that as a win. And I don't know if it's a sign of things to come. I don't know. Like, Derek Brown got by, I think it was one of the guards. And I believe Patrick Paul was the tackle. So it was a double team, and Derek Brown just sort of, like he was moving something on the counter. It literally looked like that. You just push the guy to the side. Oh, it's in the fridge. Let's open it. Move the blueberries over. We're going to grab the cookies in the back. It was that easy for him to get to the quarterback. Pat Jones had the huge sack at the end of the game. And you were able to get pressure on Tua. Tua still had great numbers today, and I don't think Tua even had a great game. Almost threw that interception at the end. A bad throw where he overthrew Waddle, and Ransom almost had the interception. But you were able to pressure the Dolphins quarterback. And you haven't been able to do that all year. And at a certain point, we can't call everything fool's gold. And we also have to acknowledge this win. DJ Johnson wasn't on the field. And I think that was Evero's low point personnel-wise. Playing DJ Johnson 49% of snaps against New England. Yamam Allen had 24%. Well, what happens when you put Yamam Allen on the field? Even though he's not getting sacks, he didn't have a sack today. He had some great tackles on the edge against A-Chain. And he was able to stop the run. You should have had him on the field instead of DJ Johnson. I'm not saying you win that game against New England, but it's inexcusable for the Panthers defensive coordinator to be playing DJ Johnson 49% of snaps over Yamam Allen. And maybe he's finally over that hump. And you obviously get Nick Scorton and Pat Jones back, or rather Pat Jones and DJ Wanham, who helped. Anyone, I'm not joking, anyone is better than DJ Johnson. So cheers to that, and cheers to more sacks to come. The Panthers are certainly excited about that. Ending on a high note. More sacks, Bryce Young's going to be the savior. I'm not going to say that yet, but they are looking like they're on the right track. And hopefully that continues. This is The Tone. It's a pleasure to be back. I am back this week. I am ready to go. I'm firing on all cylinders. I even talked to an insider on Panthers.com. Believe me, she was not happy. She was surprised completely. And I'm already giving you too much information, but let's just say I was wearing a lot of Saints gear. And I start talking. I go undercover. I'm wearing Saints everything. I'm like, gold hair and all that. And I walk up and I start asking questions. And I got some inside info that I'm going to share with you on this program. So stay tuned. This is The Tone.